Life sometimes takes us down paths we never envisioned. Who knew that an internet search in January 2014 for information about my first visit to London, just what it would lead to? I stumbled by chance across a man called George Lansbury, and I printed off a few pages about his story, as I thought it would make a good subject to write about. I didn't know then, of course, that a few months later I'll be sitting in Poplar, East London, listening to his granddaughter talk with affection about her ancestor. Inspiration still didn't strike until I started blogging, and I decided to dream dinner party would be an ideal way to show my work on the internet. Yet another who would have thought it that my words would be found and end up being performed at Mr. Lansbury's former place of worship, Bow Church, at a concert celebrating the Magna Carta. The person behind the camera is a lovely guy named Dan, who I met on, of all places, Langdon Park DLR. Along with Gary, helped me on my return journey from Poplar, and they are now both very close friends. It's made me feel that my life is a giant chess game, and I'm just so fortunate that I was on the right square on the board at the right time. The readers are Angela, Paul, Amanda and Pete.
To a local hero, George Lansbury, Mayor of Poplar, MP for Bromley and Bow, and for 40 years a member of this church. In November 1912, he travelled to Paris with Emmeline Piper, leader of the British suffragette movement, a member of Lansbury's own party, the Independent Labour Party. There they consulted her exiled daughter, Christabel, who had fled from the English police to Paris.
A few days later, Lansbury resigned his parliamentary seat to fight a by-election over votes for women. According to his son-in-law, Raymond Postgate, the Pankhursts had persuaded the MP to strike a brilliant publicity coup for the women's cause in Edwardian politics.
The Bow and Bromley by-election attracted national attention as suffrage and anti-suffrage societies poured into the poor East End constituency. In a straight fight, George Lansbury lost by 751 votes to the anti-suffragist Conservative candidate Reginald Blair, and was out of Parliament for 10 years.
Joy Edwards is a poet and writer. She has been blogging about her perfect dinner party guests.
Guest 3, George Lansbury. If I could choose the perfect dinner party guest, who would I invite? Well, the person would have to be a hero of mine, and that word is sadly overused these days. A guy who kicks a football around the field and scores a few goals doesn't deserve the title. Neither does a young woman who makes a few $1 million walking about half naked singing a manufacturing, hyped up song. Sorry, a hero means someone who is prepared, often in the face of adversity, to face it down with no thought of self and for the good of others. And for me, equals George Lansbury. His story touched my heart like no other, and I feel sad that he is barely remembered nowadays. So what makes Mr. Lansbury stand out from the rest? He possessed a deep Christian faith which underpinned his life and political career. As a former leader of the Labour Party, this influenced him not only on the level as Mayor of Poplar and MP, or Bow and Bromley with his achievements in the social reform of the East End, but with his support for the suffragettes. Also, he wasn't afraid to be a thorn in the side, not only of the opposition, but his own party, with his pacifist beliefs. In fact, he was so passionate about his ideals that he was prepared to suffer the hardships of prison on several occasions. Mr. Lansbury did his utmost to try and prevent the outbreak of war, and when he realised that his efforts were in vain, he resigned. If I could go back in time, it would be to Poplar and support him, but as that is impossible, I can only try and emulate a man that the East Enders love so much that they call him Good Old George, and hope and pray for the world he wanted to inhabit, where everyone is equal and war is consigned to the past.
Rally for George Lansbury by Joy Edwards. From the platform, I addressed the crowd with praise for George Lansbury. I shout clear and loud, a man of steel, a man of stone, immovable, prepared to stand alone, ahead of his time, a man of conviction, for his beliefs more than once suffered prison. Champion of women's rights, the East End's friend, he observed people's plight as a social reformer, he put it right. Mayor of Poplar, he lowered the rent. Labour leader, a man of commitment, a man of faith, a rare being. He bucked the trend. MP for Bromley and Bow, a pacifist to the end. No man more worthy to be defined by the one word that springs to mind: hero.
George Lansbury became editor of the Daily Herald. The newspaper opposed the war, promoted pacifism, and defended conscientious objectors. On the day the First World War broke out, the paper's lead headline